Welcome back, everybody. We're on episode.
I don't know what episode.
We're at the ending of Leviticus.
Yes.
So, guys, how would you summarize the?
What you just summarize the Bible?
Just give him that. He could read off of that.
They're just questions.
Oh yeah, he could ask a question.
No,
That's fine.
Manuel.
Oh,
Supposed to bring his own questions.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Why was there so many rules? What was he trying to set up?
Law and order.
obedience, faithful, being faithful to him. I don't know. Because no rules, no order.
Was he
Chaos.
trying to start the civilization or like a country? Pretty much, right?
Yeah, you kind of need some ground rules. Because all they've known was like Egypt, right? So I don't know if they even had any like rules. I don't know. Did they?
Well, in the beginning, they weren't slaves. They became slaves until later on.
Yeah, they turned into slaves because the old pharaoh he passed away, and then the new one didn't honor the.
Yeah, or he didn't remember.
Yeah.
Or he got jealous that they were getting too mighty in.
And also, when Moses comes in, he's like, well, let my people go, but then you're taking away his entire workforce. Like, who else is going to build his pyramids and statues?
At that point, yeah, he made them.
Oh, yeah.
Or was it aliens? Could be.
Where they were at one point, because they weren't from Egypt. They came from a different land.
Oh, illegal alien.
The Pharaoh made them legal. Because he allowed them to live there. I forgot that word.
So Biden's been president before?
No, because this one he allowed them.
I probably need to cut that.
And that's the end of the podcast.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a good point. Like, why do you think he made all these rules?
I mean, there was rules since the beginning. Look at Adam and Eve.
But like, these are specific. You know, there's the 10 Commandments, but then each single one has like a paragraph or a description of what specifically you can't do.
Was it also to be different from the other nations? And I'm pretty sure the other nations had their rules, but it wasn't like, I don't think they were this precise. Like you had to follow this every day. You know, I'm pretty sure they had their rules or were their law and order, but not like to this much where, you know, this was like really deep. This is what pretty much like when a country's been alive for so many like amendments, like after a while, you know, well, let's put this in, let's put that in. Like God put everything in there. I guess he knew the future, so he goes, might as well just get it all in there.
So yeah, we finished Leviticus. Anything else?
Damn, still.
There was 2 chapters left.
I have like a bunch of notes.
Say them.
Well, because they pretty much split the podcast lady, right? She kind of like splits the laws like between civil laws, like between people. Ceremonial laws is like the sacrifices, the tabernacle positions, and then there's the moral laws, which is like pretty much like what's right and what's wrong. And so, yeah, I thought it was interesting the way you point that out, like why there's so many rules. Because in like if you would contrast it with the United States, Israel is a religious group and a nation together. And here in the U.S., they separate them both. Separation of church and state. So it might seem weird to us maybe a little that all these morals and ceremonial and civil laws are all together in one. But it's because we live in a nation where they're split. Because we accept all religions and all people from all walks of life. So I think that's a pretty good distinction. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, because there's not even like Israel. Not everybody there is Christian or Jew or whatever. Like, there's really no nation that's just one, right?
What do you mean, like one religion?
One religion.
All the Muslim nations?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Like
Yeah.
India? Or who's
No,
Muslim?
like
Muslim is, do you know Muslim?
No,
India
yes.
is more like there's some
Buddhist.
Muslims-
there's
yeah,
Hindu.
Hindu. Oh, yes. But everybody in
No,
that
no.
country? That's what I'm saying.
But Islam has more of a crackdown.
Mm.
You kind of have to practice Islam or else you're killed over there.
Yeah. The laws is pretty much like Israel. Like maybe Israel back Old Testament.
Mm.
They follow it to the law where if this and that, you're dead. That's your punishment.
Dude.
Yeah, I think for them, Jesus hasn't come yet. So,
For Jewish or Muslim?
no, I mean, in the sense that they're still practicing old Israel rules and commandments.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, let's see. Yeah. So they're still thinking they still need to do all that because Jesus hasn't, for them, like for us, Jesus came down and was the ultimate sacrifice, so we don't have to do sacrifices and all that stuff anymore. So, yeah.
Thank God.
I mean, we'd be carnivores, right? If we still had to sacrifice.
I'd be giving the pigeons and doves.
If you could catch them.
I think that's the reason God changed from the Old Testament to the New Testament. Because I think back then, when you had a nation, you had enough people, you can follow the food and all that stuff. Is now you got so much nations, it's just too hard to do that. There's a lot of poor nations that they can't afford, you know what I mean, certain foods, or they can't follow a certain diet. Unlike before, the Jewish people were like a whole nation together. You know what I mean? And I think when God went to the New Testament to all the nations, I think that's what He did to change, where people can eat everything. I think it's just because of that. I don't know if that has to do anything, but yeah, just something.
Yeah, so I don't know if y'all caught this, but the only people that could go into the tabernacle was only the people who were unblemished. Like you couldn't have a sickness, you couldn't be deformed, you couldn't be deaf, you couldn't be short, you couldn't have some. So imagine that now, like how. Just think of all the liberal people who don't read the Bible. If they read this, you'd be like, "Why is God discriminating against all these disabled people or whatever?" But then it kind of the podcast lady, she points out that it's I think it kind of hit her too, like why would God only? And I think she kind of admitted in the beginning when she started reading the Bible that when she read that part, like why would God discriminate against people with blemishes and
diseases
and stuff? But it's because we were never meant to be perfect. These laws and rules and commandments are God's perfection. It's not. It's something we strive for. It's not something we'll ever accomplish to be. And so that's why, for us, Jesus was the ultimate perfect sacrifice because we could never amount to that perfection.
What did it mean that when somebody was sick means it was somebody committed sin or something?
Oh yeah, didn't they believe that?
Because remember back when Jesus, how was he blind? Because of his parents or because of him? So I wonder what happens if back then it was also because of that.
Maybe. Because isn't the correlation the worse your sin, the worse your sicknesses?
Probably. I don't know.
But correlation is not causation.
Wow.
Or maybe at one point, because back then God was really literal. You know what I mean? That if you did, let's just say, what happens if you did something you weren't supposed to, or you took something, or you drank something, and you fell on the baby, or something. You know what I mean? Something would have happened. There's a blemish because something imperfect happened, and they took the hit for it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like what I think it was last week that we talked about how if you accidentally sin, you still have to make a sacrifice because it's you blemish something, you got something dirty, you were either dirty I think even like physically dirty too, you were pretty much outcast until you were clean. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I got here. Oh yeah, so the rules also apply to foreigners. So even if you weren't a Jew, because you know how they kept on fighting people while they're wandering to Mount Sinai. They're in battle with the people, so they got like foreigners from other countries and other cities, whatever, and so they stayed with them, and so those rules applied to them too. Kind of like how like an immigrant that comes here, or like somebody visiting from another country, they still have the same rights. Like you can't kill somebody because they're not from here, or you can't treat them a different way just because they're from somebody else. The rights still apply to them, right? As long as they follow the rules too. And I think she also made like a good point where like these rules were coming from God, right? But it's not like you were like, let's say you and JP were like beefing about something, right? Y'all couldn't resolve it just by yourselves. Y'all needed to get somebody else that would look at the law that God provided and then make a choice, because if y'all were two were together, y'all just, or by yourselves, y'all probably just have vengeance against each
like
other.
a mediator.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there was like some authority back then too that would also help to remediate whatever issue y'all were having. I don't know. What do you think? Yes or no?
Yeah, I guess we can just assume, make best guesses, but only God knows why other people. And then it seems like he did a lot of feast and like always had a lot of stuff going on too.
Yeah, it was mainly just for like remembrance.
Yeah,
Like pretty much the Sabbath. You couldn't work in the Sabbath. You could only work in the sense that you would prepare the meals.
Yeah,
for the feast,
the Sabbath, the Passover, the
feast of harvest, the feast of booth,
feast of weeks,
the
trumpets, Day of Atonement,
and then all those. It's crazy that they would call them all feasts, right? But then the Feast of Atonement was actually a fast. Yeah.
Is that when they fasted the night? Like, let's say at 6 and
the sun down, the sun up, right? That one.
No, to the sundown. No? To the sundown. Isn't it sundown to sundown? Like, let's say you start at 6 tonight, you can't eat into tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Right, I think so.
Was that it, or?
That's one of them. I think that might be Passover. No, I mean Sabbath.
Cool.
I'm not too sure, but they all pretty much had.
It seems like it's easy to do that one, right? If you eat at 5, or I guess because people still get kind of hungry, it's late at night, I guess. But if you eat at 5,
like your family,
literally,
they eat at 9, like they eat dinner.
Easily at 9,
No,
food in their mouth.
I'd be getting heartburn.
They start cooking at night.
I'm hungry. I get sick.
I wonder if that's also for the future, like in heaven. You know, when he says he's gonna have his feast.
I hope so.
You know, when we're there, if we're faithful, because if we're not.
Yeah. So I think like towards the end too, he called to the Levites to be the only people who served in the tabernacle.
Yes.
And then within the Levites, he separated into 3 groups, each doing something different. And then, I think it's like one is more important than the other, because one was set to work like in the Holy of Holies, that they had to like move stuff around. The other people had to do like other things.
Some with the curtains.
Yeah.
But she explained it as like in the church too. Like you need everybody to serve. The worship leader.
Would you agree that one is more important than the other? I'm not saying they are, and I'm just saying the perception of it. Like, if you didn't have someone who cleaned the toilets that day, it's fine. But if you didn't have someone to preach,
but everybody needs everybody.
I think it's
You can't preach without the sound.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit more important. Well, it just depends. But remember in the New Testament with the apostles, when they were like, we can't be serving these widows and be preaching at the same time, so they founded other people to do that. But they did that. But a lot of people also that were serving the widows, those people became also people that were going on to preach. Like it seems like that's where it was a start.
So preaching is like the highest level, maybe?
Well, I guess so because remember when Jesus and Martha, remember Martha and Maria? Maria was at his feet. When Martha was ready, she goes, "Can you tell my sister to help me out?" And he goes, "You're so worried about all these other things.
Yeah,
You're missing the first thing."
That's true.
So,
because one of the questions was God chose the Levites to be the tribe that serves Him in the tabernacle. He also appoints the division of the labor between the 3 clans of the Levites. Do you think this appointment caused strife between tribes or clans? Why do you think God may have chosen to work this way?
I think it goes with God choosing people and knowing how they work and what they're able to do. You know what I mean?
So
It's
depending
like-
on your talents?
Yeah,
Your
it's like I'm not
strengths.
gonna put your mom to run the sound like that, you know.
So,
And,
so
and
you-
you're not gonna put me to help in the kids ministry because that will smack those kids.
yeah, back then he was like that. He would put like the best people to do like when they did this like stuff for the temples. He was like, "Go to this person. He's like great in this. This is what he did. They're gonna do this. They're gonna do the linen."
oh, but remember, God said that He gave him the knowledge, he goes, go to this person because I gave them the knowledge and skill to do these things.
Mm,
That's why He said go to them because they would know how to do it.
yeah.
So
I often wonder why when people go to church they either think my job is to preach or to be in the worship team. Like they don't explore the other
Yeah.
paths.
yeah, I've heard like in some preachers who tell stories of what people have told them. He goes, I'm not going to another church if I'm not in the worship team, or if I don't get this high position. I ain't gonna start from the bottom. I'm already this person, right?
PSA: not everyone is meant for the worship team. Just
Amen. Me.
wow. You'd be like some
'Cause you
people that
choose not
have the
to.
talent, just let it sit there. All right, Manuel?
It might be like that. The talent from remember when Jesus talking about that story?
The
He gives
story of
that man
talents.
he gave
and
one
he
talent,
buried it.
just buried it, and says, "Why don't you at least give it to somebody else to work it?"
Exactly.
But no,
We're not in the
Shut up.
Gospels yet, guys. So let's save that
Everything's connected though.
bitterness. Let's save the bitterness
It's all
for the
one.
next one.
The New and the Old Testament is one.
Jesus is one. He's the
Yeah.
Word. He was.
Ooh, that brings
Jesus
up a question.
number 1.
Well, what should we say to the people that, for example, they have their heart set out for the worship team, but in reality, God doesn't have them going there?
As in, like at the moment or
Yeah.
ever.
No, like let's say Manuel, he's like, oh my God, I want to be a singer. I want to be a singer. Has his heart set out to be a singer. He can't sing, but he has a desire for it. But even though he has a talent to,
He has the heart for
he
it.
has the heart for it. But let's say he really, in reality, has the talent to manage finances, and he'd be better off there. But he wants to be in the worship team.
Then there's something deeper going on, because I think someone would already have told you, yeah, no, you're not a good singer. I mean, I would have, but I don't think. I think someone hasn't told them the truth.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, they can still sing out there.
Not
They
well,
can sing in the shower.
No, because you never
As long
know.
as no one is in the house.
not on
and-
stage.
If they sing a song that hits somebody that's going through something, it doesn't matter how you sing it. When they're listening to the verse, the actual note, the words, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that they can just sing anywhere, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Sometimes it just works like that. Do you think Paul and Silas, when they were in jail and they were singing, do we know if they had? I don't know if they had good voices, but they were doing it, to get people's emotions up.
Let's go on a worship rabbit hole. We haven't had one of these questions.
Well, look. Here's the thing. I get what you're saying. God can do anything; is not impossible. But if we go back into reality, right?
Yeah, but
what? No, yes, I understand what you're saying. I completely understand.
no,
God
because
can do it.
no.
What I'm hearing is
It-
Abraham wants to put God in a box.
It's a first world problem again.
Yes.
It's a first world problem again because if let's just imagine we're in war in time, and somebody that can't sing is singing something, and you're in the midst of something. Are you really thinking about the voice, or you're seeing your surrounding, and he's singing something like heartfelt? You know, we're always thinking just us because we're like, oh, we need the best. But just imagine if we're somewhere else and we're in war or something, and somebody just starts singing something, or maybe something that your parents sang, and he's not singing it great, but he's bringing those words. Doesn't matter how he's singing it, or is bringing you like your heart down or something. If you know what I mean? Because we're just thinking it as the first world. Of course, we want the best. But if you're in that dire situation, like other countries are, do you really matter? Because when you see all the surrounding, like all the trouble, all the death, are you really going in there? Oh, he can't sing, or he's singing with his heart, and then he sees what you know what I mean. You're just seeing all this stuff going on. I always feel like we always have like the first world problem. We're seeing everything through one eye. Of course, like it's a balance, always a balance. Because yeah, there's some people that they just say sing bad and are just doing it on purpose, just whatever, and don't want to do nothing or don't want to practice. But yeah, there's somebody else that actually doing it out of a heart. So it's just I feel like it's a God thing. Like I don't know. It's just
okay, man. Okay.
I know I go on rants, but
No, because you're talking about two different things. JP was saying someone who is in an established church already.
Yeah.
And for some reason they feel the need to be in the worship team because I'm just gonna go out and say, because if you're not a good singer, and you can obviously tell, but you still want to be in a public facing in servitude of a public facing ministry, then that's completely different than from what you were saying.
yeah,
Someone who is in anguish and in this place where everything's going wrong, and they just start singing. That's completely different from what he's saying.
yeah,
I get what you're saying. Anybody who starts singing, I'm hoping someone else knows how to sing and starts singing above them. But it's fine. I get what you're saying.
yeah,
That's great. And I think God moves in that moment just because that's needed in the moment. But what he is saying, JP, is that la maña of somebody like the gall, right? Entitlement that you need to be in a public facing ministry just because you want to be in the public.
yeah. I don't disagree with them at all.
Yeah,
And
so we're
current-
saying two different things.
Yeah, but I'm not disagreeing with them at all. I'm just trying to give you a different take on it.
Yes, but to answer his point, yeah, that person should be told no, go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's like you have your rules. Like I'd say if you have rules, like we come to practice, we come do this. If you can't make it, things like that. I don't know. I see it as that. Yeah.
Now, if that same person goes to some crazy battles and just starts singing out of nowhere, yeah, we'll join in. But they're going to be in the worship team?
Yeah, I mean, remember pastors said at our church that he doesn't want youth anymore because they suck.
Yeah, they had a youth drummer one Sunday, and
after that, no more.
No more.
Like youth playing as the main band?
Yeah.
No, they with the
in replacement or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because they didn't have a drummer. This is before this is our first week or second week there.
Before you played. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had a youth drummer.
That's because they have a youth band, but they're like, oh, we need a drummer like this summer. I mean, this service Sunday.
So they had him play, and it wasn't too hot.
That was primera y última vez.
Because it came down to as a distraction, which is true.
So he put his foot down. Thank God.
I mean, what have I been saying? Distraction.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can all be Levites.
That's true.
I mean, unless you start cleaning toilets, because that's service to the church, right? But
everything.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's the importance of the separation.
Mm-hmm.
how JP was saying that it's you have to have the talent, at least the know-how or the passion to. I don't know. What do you think? Do you need to have talent with passion or just passion without talent?
I'm laughing because we had this conversation before.
We'll bring it back. It's been a while.
What was it? Passion or talent?
Yeah.
Do you need to have both or passion or talent?
Yeah. What's the best? I mean, obviously, both of them are the best combination. Mm-hmm. With experience is way better. But if it's somebody new, right, they can obviously maybe hold a note, or they can play, or they're very interested in playing the guitar. Maybe they have a guitar or a piano or whatever, and they started practicing on their own. They just need an extra push. So they have the passion. They just don't have the talent for it yet.
It depends how soon you need them.
Yeah.
If you need them for next Sunday, sorry, passion won't cut it next Sunday. If you have the talent, here's a guitar. It's 6115. You got it.
I mean, they put us on. We didn't need to take any of those classes that you have to take before
or audition
you serve
or whatever. Because it goes back down to talent.
Because they needed someone. There was no sound man there. None.
Where's the sound man?
It was the pastor. Now it's just me.
If you know, it reminds me of, when you say that, it reminds me of Michael Jordan. He didn't have the talent yet, but he had the passion. Of course, remember
but how long did it take for Jordan?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm talking about services tomorrow.
Agree, that's why I said I agree with you. I agree with you when you said.
Let us speak.
When you said talent, of course, because it's now. I understand that. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm trying to explain to you about passion and talent. That Michael Jordan was the best, but he took time. The other people were above him because they had the height and everything, so they got him. You know what I mean? But the passion eventually made him better than everybody else.
I know, but we're talking about a time crunch.
That's what I'm saying.
He's
you're
talking
right.
About both, Pablo.
That's what I'm saying. You're right. When you're in a time crunch,
we couldn't have both.
When you're in a time crunch, I would go with talent. But eventually, that passion is going to overcome that guy.
It's going to last longer, the passion.
Yeah.
Than the talent.
Because he's going to get a lot better. The talented guy is probably just going to stay the same because he feels like, I can do this, and he's never going to maybe practice. But if you have the passionate guy, that means that, he's not great right now, but eventually he's going to be great. So that's what I mean. I agree with you. That the talent, if you need him now, that's going to suffice. But the passionate guy, in a few years, he's going to be like, like way above everybody else. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean.
Like, but let me ask y'all this. Y'all think the worship team now is overhyped in the church?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Like
they're the popular people?
Yeah, like when you go to a church, people think I'm either going to preach or serve on the worship team. Like, for example, remember last week, Jersey Sunday or whatever? The worship leader was like, oh, I don't want the worship team to wear jerseys because I want us to
on stage.
Yeah, I want us to look better and be set apart from them.
Oh, that's right.
But I was thinking,
but you already had yours.
Yeah, I already had mine on.
We didn't get the memo.
But I was in the aquarium anyway, so it didn't matter. But I already had mine on. But then I'm thinking in my head, why do you want to be set apart from the people that you're supposedly leading? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you want to be equal to them.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a distinction here in Leviticus that the priests had to be without blemish.
So we are following Leviticus.
And they were still dressed different than everybody else.
Yeah, they had all the best clothes. They had all the best barbecue. All the meats, all the best. They brought a bunch of stuff that they contributed to the Levites because they were the ones serving. All right, moving on.
Did we cover that?
What? Yes, you need passion, talent, and experience if you want to be in the worship team.
And no jerseys.
I don't care. I'm going with my jersey.
Why? You got to be different.
Nope, I'm trying to be like the people down there.
But remember, even Peter, when he denied, they're like, well, you speak different. And then what did he start doing? You act different. You're different than everybody else. He was still with the people. The people were noticing. And then eventually, what did he do? He started cursing and trying to be like everybody else.
So what you're saying, I should start cursing from the drum choir?
No. It means you gotta still be different. It doesn't mean that you're perfect or nothing. It just means that you're different. You know what I mean? You're just showing, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Next question.
So now we move into Numbers. Are we done with Leviticus finally?
Yep.
Jeez, good riddance. I'm just kidding, God. I'm sorry. Don't spite me. Okay, so Numbers. I think in the original scroll it was called in the wilderness.
Yes.
But they renamed it to Numbers. Only because this is where they
census?
take the census. Yes. So what are they trying to do? They were trying to see how many able-bodied men they had for war.
Men over the age of 20 or something like that.
20 and older. So they can. What do they come out with? Like 604,000 or something.
Yeah, and
Able-bodied men to. But the Levites weren't counted because they were serving the Lord.
Special.
Judah had the biggest clan.
Who was the smallest?
Was it Benjamin?
30.
No, Manasseh.
Yeah, 32 to 200.
Oh, Joseph's son.
Manasseh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think Jacob he gave Manasseh and Ephraim
The same rights. The same
yeah.
like as sons.
Instead of Joseph, give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't spend so much time with Joseph. He didn't get to. So he gave the lesson to them.
Joseph.
So also, every other clan had to give their firstborn as to the service of the church, right, or to God. But because they had the Levites, every single person of the Levites took the firstborn, or like
they took the place of the firstborn.
Yeah, they took the change, they exchanged them for the firstborn.
Yes. And then from Levi's sons, that's where the 3 tribes come from. The 3 other, where you were mentioning before, the different.
The firstborn.
No, the different. They had different responsibilities in the tabernacle. No.
Oh yeah. The Levites, they were split off to doing different things.
Mm-hmm.
So there is one thing we'll probably, because I think we got into a few chapters of Numbers, but I think one of the big ones that I wanted to see if I can get in here was how they weeded out, or no, how they, what was it, when they suspect a wife of cheating?
Mm-hmm. Like, what are the rules of that?
Belongs to the streets.
I guess he wanted to stop it. Like, I don't know how.
Yeah, but do you know how they went about doing it?
God was going to be the witness.
Yes, but do you know what they did?
They stoned him, right?
No.
Well, if they were found
guilty. If they're found guilty.
But, so they made them drink this thing, this poison, that pretty much acts as an abortion.
Oh.
Okay. So if a husband were to suspect a wife of sleeping with another person, this drink, whatever, if they actually cheated, the way you would know from a woman is that they start to get pregnant, right? Because obviously
that's right.
So if you drink this thing, you would know if they cheated because they would have a miscarriage or it was an abortion.
Yeah.
But if nothing happened, that means they were innocent.
So does that justify abortion for God? Does it?
Because I literally have in my notes abortion ?
I don't know. Interesting.
Because it's not like outright.
Because the Bible number specifically says abortion is a sin.
No, the sin is
murder.
Is adultery. And the way you know, because people aren't going to say that, oh, look, I cheated. They're not going to confess that.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only way, if a husband were to have a suspicion that his wife was cheating and they know they haven't consummated in some way, they would know by drinking that drink. It wouldn't do anything to her if she was not pregnant. But if she was, she would
It
have a miscarriage.
reminds me when David when he did that with the Bathsheba. No, was it Bathsheba?
Yeah, Bathsheba.
That the child died. They prayed and God didn't bring him to life.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like actually God, like killing the baby,
Because of his disobedience,
right?
no?
Or his sin.
Or his sin.
I feel like if
No
God
try.
allows it, he can because I don't know.
But I think you're starting to get into the argument of the people of this world, where why would a just God, kill an innocent life? Like, bro, you don't even know it's sins of other people.
Yeah, like
It's decisions of other people.
I feel like
I mean, you could still call it sins of other people. For today, like if Jane Doe goes to the club and wants to go sin and be a lady of the night with everybody, then that's her sin, So it's the same thing, right?
I don't get the argument. What do you mean?
Like you're saying we're trying to like fit it into this world, right?
Go on.
So back then it was for the sins of the people, so it could still be used today.
No.
He's agreeing with you, I think.
Yeah.
he's kind of saying abortion, like maybe.
Like, yeah. Like is
As opposed to what?
is it justifiable? For example, if let's use a cheating one. If someone cheated today, it's a sin. So is
And also against the law, adultery is illegal.
So is it justifiable at this point? The abortion.
What?
The abortion.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, I see.
Of drinking it?
No.
Or the abortion now?
The
Of
abortion.
abortion.
In general.
Maybe it was, but maybe it changed when Jesus came. Because remember when the Martha, they were going to stone her, and that was the right thing to do because that was in the Old Testament. But Jesus came and stopped it. Because anybody has no sin, come and do it. So what does that mean?
That's why they freaked out when he came, because he just broke all the laws.
Mm-hmm.
He just not broke them, but
he came to fulfill the law.
Right. To be the law.
Yeah, because eventually people were just taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
They were just kind of doing it and they knew what to do, but they didn't get the gist. Like instead of getting the gist, meaning that what God meant for them to be and feel, like they just did it and they kind of got away with it. Like
Yeah, it's kind of when you know the game, you can manipulate it to fit it to what you want it to do.
Yeah.
If you've been in, like, unfortunately, I'm gonna say I've been in the church way too long to not. I think I've become desensitized, and so anything that I would assume that's good or whatever, it goes over my head because I've been in church too long to know that it's like a cycle of what goes on in the church. I wish I kind of like was new to it, like erased everything, and then came in new because I probably appreciate it more. But I don't know. That's probably just a me thing.
No, I see what you mean. Like come in as when you're down in your life, you did it all, and then you come find God. Then when you kind of start there, you kind of start feeling like it feels like almost like they give you a watch and they want you to run, right? And then eventually you start doing it, but eventually you start seeing people like, oh, they put it on a little toy remote or something, and they're just making it run for them. You know what I mean? So technically, you're not doing the benefit was for you, but now you kind of find ways how to like get out of it.
Yeah,
you're
like
still doing
manipulate it.
Yeah, you're manipulating it, but that was not the point of it. The point was just for you to go through all that. So you're just manipulating. I think that's what they were becoming.
I think the whole point of the laws, commandments, and all that was to get closer to God. Hey, this is what I need you to do to be close to me. And because humans' nature is to sin, they would use that as just a band-aid. Like, oh, I can sin because I'm going to sacrifice my ram anyway. So, so whatever.
What was the question again?
No, I mean, we were talking about the abortion thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think he has a point. Like, would that be still considered an option today if the sin was adultery?
Well, I think that's what God comes in and says mercy. Because remember, adultery was with Martha. So technically, she had to be stoned because that was the sin of her thing. But God had compassion. He says, "Why?" Well, he says that if anybody, he makes that line and says, if anybody has a free of sin, throw the first stone. So is he trying to kind of amend it, or kind of just say like have mercy, be merciful to the child? Maybe. Of course, he doesn't. I don't know.
No, I see what you mean, because adultery is between two people, right? So you would have to stone the other person too.
Yeah, people think it's always about the woman, but the man got stoned too. It wasn't just a woman; it was the men too. People just think,
yeah,
think,
you feminist.
I didn't say anything. I'm not a feminist.
I know
You were
JP
stoned
is.
in the kitchen.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're right. So I think they took advantage of the whole system. I mean, it would be hundreds of years after that Jesus came, right? So they would have so much time to learn about the commandments and how to get around them and how to sin and be forgiven. And then
What happens if people just took advantage of it too, and they were like, "Oh, they wanted to get rid of their wives and just said, oh, she committed adultery, and there you go." Or my husband committed adultery. So instead of like working for good, it was just they were just taking it for granted, or just
well, because it'd be hard to prove for a man. Like it'd kind of be hard to prove that a man was the adulterer because there was no like DNA test or anything. So the only way you would probably know is if the wife cheated, you found out that she did get pregnant, so she drank that drink, and then she'd have to confess like who was the other person, right? And that's how they would get stoned, both of them. Is that she confessed, oh, it was him, like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the only way. But you'd go through the woman because that's how you would know for sure that there was an actual sin because she got pregnant when it wasn't by her husband. So, yeah. I see why the law goes through the woman first, because that's how you'll know that she committed adultery, because the consequence of adultery is being pregnant. So that's how you would know. I don't know. That's crazy how they would abort. What do you think, JP? Do you think that would be still like, so how does that justify like Roe v. Wade stuff?
I don't know. I mean, I still think it's wrong. Don't get me wrong. But now...
But I mean, answer your own question. Do you think the punishment for adultery is abortion?
You could say yes, but then you got to take the whole book of Numbers.
Okay, so we can't be cafeteria questions.
No cafeteria questions. No, not just the book of Numbers, but the whole Pentateuch. The first 5 books. You got to take all that as a whole. So that means following all the rules of Leviticus.
Yeah, and if it feels like, I think that's more of a mercy type, because if you feel like back then it was an eye for an eye. So if you did something, baby dies or whatever. Now God is more like more merciful, more of a, you know what I mean? I lost my thought. I had something. I totally forgot what I was going.
All right. So the last thing we read in the chapter was the Nazirite vow.
Don't cut your hair. That one.
Yeah.
So what? I didn't get that. What's like? Why do they call it a Nazirite vow? Is that who they are?
It's kind of like it's like a more in-depth consecration. So you can't drink alcohol. You can't eat or consume anything with grapes. You can't be near a dead body. Like
dead bodies?
Even because dead body was considered unclean, so you couldn't be,
or carcasses,
anything right? Like anything dead, you couldn't be around it. And if you were, you would have to wait 7 days to get clean, shave your head, and then start all over again.
Like Samson did. He was supposed to do that.
Oh, and John the Baptist also did that.
John the Baptist.
Just set apart. Almost like a pastor. I think it's or something like that. More, can I say yourself, I guess, apart?
So it's like
Type of
another
thing?
level.
I think. I don't know.
What?
And then we get to Abraham's favorite song.
Oh,
Oh no, don't do it.
The Lord
No.
bless you
Thank you so
and
much.
keep
oh yes.
and his children. And his children.
I read that. I was like, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, they got it word for word.
Yeah, they did. The blessing.
Where do you think the songs, Christian songs, come from? From the Bible, duh.
Oh, that's the blessing, the song.
Mm-hmm. The bridge, right?
Abraham's favorite song.
Yeah.
He refuses to get blessed.
Not by that song. And your children, and your children, and your children, and their children.
Did y'all see that meme when the stimmies were first coming out? Like, who's gonna pay back the stimmy? And your children, and your children, and your children.
Yes.
The what? Oh,
Yeah,
the
stimulus
Yeah, the
check?
stimulus
Oh.
checks.
Because it was like, oh, free money. Like, no, you're gonna eventually pay it back.
Yeah, and the meme was like, who's going to pay back the stimulus check? Your children, and your children.
Damn.
Oh, man. Well, that's about it, guys. Call it out, man.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us this other podcast time. And I lost my train of thought, so I'll send it to him. Well, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Deuces.